I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. It's all good. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. It's all good. Get I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. It's all good. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. It's all good. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought.
Republic of Arsenal live again. Pretty routine win for Arsenal. This is what a Premier League victory feels like, lads. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0, or Newcastle 0, Arsenal 2. Weird away team, whichever way you wanna go. Yeah, I'm a little bit I'm a bit flustered at the minute because I almost forgot what the feeling of winning a Premier League game is actually like, especially winning one as comfortable as we'd won it today. So yeah, lads, let's get into it. So we got Sulz back. Sulz, it feels like it's been a while. It feels like it's been a long time. How's everything going for you?
Yeah, no, everything's good. It's just been a busy month, just with everything going on. But yeah, no, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back. And then you've been standing in an awful lot lately in Sulz's absence. So it's one of them now. I'm having like one of those problems, you know. It's almost like I'm the head coach here, and I'm kind of going, right, Sulz has been my star man. He's been a regular on the team, but then you're putting a lot of pressure on now, and yeah, Sulz, the place is up for grabs in your absence there, and Dan has been filling it pretty well. So Dan, you're back again.
Yeah, it's always good to come on. I'll do my bit when I can. It's a bit like the Martinelli situation with Arsenal, really, isn't it? But yeah, you know, we're coming off 3 points, so we can't really be we can't not smile. But I think, like you say, it is a bit hard to sort of think about it with everything else that's going on. But yeah, it should be good crack.
That's it. Yeah, as you said, it's look, it's going to be all smiles today. We got to take the positives when we can get them. Just before we do get into it, if you haven't liked the video and subscribed already, please remember to do so. So lads, 3 points in the bag. Pretty routine, comfortable afternoon for Arsenal. Look, it's a welcome sight on a Sunday afternoon. I kind of got accustomed to Arsenal being the thing that sort of spoils my weekend. So definitely, if I can kind of close out the weekend with a comfortable 3 points, I'm not going to complain. We will kind of get a bit more in depth into it. We kind of have to. It's sort of what we do. But yeah, Sulz, we'll kick it off with you. I guess, look, we'll take it back. You haven't forgotten how I roll, Sulz. I like to bring it back to before the game and kind of get people's thoughts. Before the game had kicked off, you know, what were your feelings coming into the game? Were you finding it difficult to get psyched up? Because I know I had spoken a little bit midweek about it and even early today, and I sort of said, look, I'm looking forward to it as a fan, but you know, when you get a dead rubber game like that, did you find it hard to kind of get motivated to watch that today?
Yeah, I didn't really like cheer or get like overly excited when we scored. I was like, oh yeah, cool, we scored. It was just one of those where I was like, yeah, I'm watching it because it's Arsenal. Like it didn't really, it wasn't the same. Like the Thursday game, for example, I'd be really pumped up for, and I really want to watch it. But this game, we know the league's kind of done and dead because I would have been more up for it if we had beaten Fulham and if we'd beaten like Everton. Then we would have been looking at a potential top 6 finish, and every game from there would have meant more. But now it's like, because we lost those games and we're coming into it with bad form, the only reason why I was quite happy was mainly just because we've got this Thursday game. We need Aubameyang to get minutes. We need to get the likes of, even Martinelli needed minutes. And then we needed to give the rest of the players like Saka and Smith Rowe. We needed to get Odegaard a bit of minutes, obviously returning from injury. And then obviously it's a good opportunity for David Luiz to get an evaluation just to see how he is. Obviously got an injury unrelated to what he actually had. And it's just unfortunate, really. And time will tell whether he can be ready. But it's just showing, obviously, what he's done today is just experiment. And that's what I wanted him to just not experiment, but just kind of go with the system he would ideally want to play on Thursday. And this is the kind of team we need to be, other than Willian, obviously replacing Willian with the likes of Saka or Pepe, and then obviously bringing Xhaka into that midfield is probably all I'd do in terms of this lineup. Obviously, Ceballos ain't there, so you can have a Partey and an El Neni midfield, because Xhaka's more than likely going to play left back, dependent on what the situation with Tierney is. Because I don't think he'll move Saka, because what I want is Saka to be the left back. But if he didn't do it today, I don't think he'll do it Thursday. So it's promising signs, because our build-up was a little bit quicker. We were a bit more on it. There was still sloppy moments, but that's expected when the rotation is this heavy. This is the first time Ceballos and El Neni actually weren't that bad in midfield, but Newcastle didn't do anything to cover themselves in glory either.
Yeah, exactly. Then, like you said, it is a difficult one because we're trying to be upbeat and we're trying to be positive. And look, there's plenty of reason to be. But we do have to factor in, I guess, it was, as I said, a bit of a dead rubber. And for me, even Newcastle sort of felt like a side where half the team had maybe checked out and were kind of planning their summer holidays or whatever else they were planning, shopping after the game or something. I don't know, but half of them didn't really look too interested. But at the same time, I was a little bit surprised because I wasn't expecting the Arsenal side to be as up for it as they were. So did that kind of catch you off guard as well? Were you surprised that, we did seem up for it? We actually did seem that we wanted to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Sulz said, with Newcastle, it's very hard to sort of compare and to sort of look at Arsenal and judge, because it's a complete different kettle of fish. I think Newcastle are a little bit like us, whereas they're not really playing for anything, like you just stated. They're sort of looking ready for the summer holidays now. They haven't got anything other than the league, and the league is pretty much there. I know the fans have their opinions on Steve Bruce, but there's not really much more they can do right now. They're in a safe position. In terms of the lineup, what you've got there, I mean, I was excited by at least I'd say going from Bellerin, Luiz, and Gabriel. I was quite happy with that, because on the right, I didn't really care who it would be. It's you never know these days, stick or twist, and at the moment, Arteta is twisting all the time. It's either Bellerin or it's going to be Chambers, or he's going to do something mad probably. But I still don't understand what's going on with Cedric, but the lineup gave me a bit of hope. The Xhaka movement, of course, like everyone else, I don't think I like it, but I'm just going to have to get used to it and stick with it. It is what it is. It seems like if Danny Ceballos can be suspended for Thursday's game, to me, today was an experiment. So anything we see here, if they're going to play on Thursday, they'll be in that position. It's just facts, whether we like it or not. We saw Xhaka get a yellow card. I saw the inevitable coming, to be honest. I was very surprised he stayed on that field. I'm glad he did, because I think we need him wherever he plays. And obviously, if he came out of that left position, we haven't really got anyone now. Cedric's not played in a long time, so I wouldn't really be too confident in Cedric coming on the left, because he hasn't been there for a while. But yeah, there were certain things up top which I was excited with. Willian, I mean, we all give him stick, but Pepe deserves a rest. I think if anyone's going to be there fighting on Thursday, it's Pepe. So I wasn't really too bothered in terms of whether it be Willian or Saka or Nelson. I wanted Pepe to get that break. Aubameyang needed to get a scoring boots on today. It was so important for Thursday. As soon as he got that goal, I think that's all most fans really wanted, more than the 3 points. If anything, I'd have taken an Aubameyang hat-trick and a 3-3 draw, because it would have sort of looked a bit promising in terms of Thursday night, because he'll go in that scoring form. But yeah, we looked good. But like I say, Newcastle just didn't give anything. If that was any other team, we wouldn't have kept a clean sheet. We didn't really have anything going against us. And like you said, with Fulham and Everton, those games just killed it, really. If you're not going to win them, games like this are just going to mean nothing, whether we like it or not, or whether the players like it. But it seemed pretty confirmed that Tierney and Lacazette won't be back. So it's good, because I think majority of that is what we'll see on Thursday. I think, you'll take Willian out and probably, I don't know. I mean, Martinelli is a really tough call for me. I know you'll probably go into this, but you could put anyone on that left side at the moment. It's a shame that we're so parked in players up the top, and then when you look at the back, we're just completely lacking. It's a big shame. Yeah,
definitely. Look, I suppose my thoughts on the lineup, I was happy enough with basically everything I saw. I couldn't really complain with anything. The only thing I really did have to say was not that I had a problem with Granit Xhaka being at left back in this game, because I've had a bit of issue with it in previous games, more so the Villarreal game and maybe the Slavia Prague game, when they kind of meant something. The league games, I'm kind of going, yeah, okay, look, if you have to experiment and you have to throw him in, look, does it really matter if it doesn't work? I kind of felt that again today. The only issue I sort of had with him playing at left back again was that it kind of signaled to me that that's probably what he's going to do again against Villarreal, and that's where I'm going to be concerned, because I know he got through today, as you would expect. Newcastle weren't really going to offer anything, so he was kind of always going to get through today, fairly unharmed. And again, Villarreal are a different animal altogether, so I still have concern with that. But Matt Ryan and goal. I predicted a team the other night. Well, the lineup
that was probably the best thing he chose today, was just to give, because Leno got some stick, but on Thursday night, Leno had a good game. He was still getting stick. Yeah, but it's going to happen because fans just don't know where to give up. But he had a good game Thursday night. It could have been 3 or 4 if it weren't for him. But I think Ryan, and the problem with Xhaka I had, because you was touching on it, and I know we'll probably move on. I think the one position where Newcastle were a threat is on that right wing, because St. Maximin's an animal. He's like lightning sometimes. I still don't know what he's doing at Newcastle. I think I'm not saying he's going to get in a top 6 team, but I think he needs to be around a bit more experience, because he's wasted there. So I was a bit worried in terms of what was up against him, and whether it be an injury or a sending off. I think that's probably the only reason why I queried it, because otherwise he does perform there. It's hard because he does do a good job. But like you say, when you put him up against someone like Chukwueze, which we'll see on Thursday night, can you really rely on him? I mean, I just sense that being such exposure on that right side. I really do. Not just because I'm not saying Xhaka's a bad player or he's not fit for that place. I just don't think he's got the pace for it. I think to play on the left flank, you need to have some sort of, speed. I don't think he has any speed. And whoever plays on that left side with him would be very interesting. And Martinelli did a good job today.
Yeah, he did, definitely. Promising. Look, I was happy to see, as I said, Matt Ryan. I think we need to see a bit more of him, because we got to make a decision at the end of the season. Are we gonna sign him permanently as our backup? So it makes sense. Give him some time. I expected Gabriel to come back. I expected Bellerin. David Luiz, at the time, it was great to see him back. We will go into it a little bit more as this goes on. Again, El Neni, Ceballos. Look, as much as I don't really want to see Dani Ceballos play for Arsenal again, in a game like this, that doesn't really mean anything. I don't really care. You can throw him in there. You can stick Runerson in midfield in a game like this, and I'm not going to be overly concerned. But Willian, Odegaard, Martinelli, Aubameyang, it's pretty much, I think, as most would have predicted. We would have expected the majority of those players to play. So I don't think there was any surprises. But as I was sort of saying, with Xhaka playing at left back, my concern was, okay, and then he come into the midfield. He's there with Ceballos. Xhaka at left back. It made me feel like, look, Xhaka is going to remain as the left back against Villarreal. And now El Neni's got himself a goal 5 minutes in, Sulz. And do you know what? To be fair, before we even talk about the El Neni goal itself, this is where I feel David Luiz adds an awful lot to our team. David Luiz started that move, And I think it's such an underrated part of David Luiz's game. And I think people used to overlook it at Chelsea. And okay, look, David Luiz has a mistake in him. This season, he's been pretty solid when he has featured, but unfortunately, he's the type of guy, his mistakes are going to carry him till, I know he hasn't got long left in his career, but until his final days of his career, those errors are going to stay with him. And I think people are overlooking his importance because of the errors in his game and the mistakes he makes. But yeah, you could see the ball over the top today to Bellerin, and Bellerin did well, cross into Aubameyang, who he was spared a little bit. He kind of fluffed his chance there, but El Neni made absolutely no mistake. So look, El Neni grabbed himself a goal after 5 minutes. So Sulz, does that put El Neni into contention now for a starting place against Villarreal?
No, that was a perfect dummy from Aubameyang. Yeah, that wasn't a missed shot. Yeah, he just dummied it. His intelligence, big brained it. But no, I think with El Neni, I actually do like him. I think he offers us something different in that midfield. He's a very mobile. He's a very agile player, and that's kind of what Xhaka doesn't have. And that's why I keep saying, it's about merging the two together, because Xhaka lacks that mobility to kind of get the ball on a half turn and turn. And that's why at left back, I don't really have a problem with Xhaka at left back personally, because I don't think he's been an issue. Even against Villarreal, other than the first goal, you can blame him, you can blame Marie, or you can blame someone not actually picking out Togera. It's up to you who you want to blame. But other than that, he actually didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. Even today, even in the Slavia Prague, he had nothing to do. In terms of what I want to see, because that midfield was so overrun, and this is what happens when Ceballos is there. I don't mind if it's El Neni or Xhaka playing there, because for me, it's not that midfield. Because now that Ceballos can't be picked, I don't mind what the midfield is. I don't mind it too much, whether it's Partey El Neni or whether it's Partey Xhaka. Partey Xhaka will fill me with more confidence because there's more aggression, there's more dominance in their presence. Whereas with El Neni is more of an energetic player who's going to press a lot more. And that's why I don't mind, because they'll offer two different types of domination in that midfield. And El Neni's passing range actually isn't that bad. And I think he can pick up the passes and he can pick out the pockets for the likes of who. The thing is, the problem is, I just don't know who will start up front. And that's kind of where the problems come in, because you can look at the likes of Martinelli playing, and then you can look at Saka and Aubameyang being the front three, or you could be looking at Martinelli, Aubameyang, Pepe, or Martinelli not even being in the starting 11. So it depends. For me, it all comes down to who he plays up top, is who I'd prefer in that midfield. If he's going to go with an out and out pacey sort of let's say Pepe, Aubameyang, Saka, then yeah, El Neni would be fine. Because he does break the passes on a lower ball, whereas Xhaka's got a very sort of David Luiz-esque kind of passing, where it's more over the top and kind of air balls that he can get you in with. But obviously, Tierney doesn't look to be back, otherwise he would have got 20 minutes today or something. He would have got something to kind of give us some sort of inclination that he's in contention. He's just part of the squad. He's not going to start. With Cedric, I think, to be honest with you, I think Xhaka for me fills me with more hope being in left back than Cedric does. I know it sounds bizarre, but I think Cedric just doesn't feel normal there. He seems to need to put it onto his right foot, whereas Xhaka is a bit more natural in the sense of he can just pass it off. Whereas with Cedric needs to adjust his body to make a pass or clear a ball. And that's part of why he's been so, not poor, but that's why some of his passing has been off. And that's my reasons for why I think I don't mind it too much. And then, obviously, when you talk about who's in contention today, Willian didn't do much for me that really shows anything that he could get in. Bellerin, he was just there just because, Chambers and whoever else needed a rest. And I think he just wants to not overplay players, because we need to be basically I think what his plan is, from minute one, he's going to tell him, you need to press the hell out of this game. You need to be high energy, high intensity. And that's why he rested those key players, especially the players who do press a lot. Look at Smith Rowe, didn't play today. Why? Because he's a high pressing player, very high intensity. And he's going to tell him from minute one, we need to go for the throats. And we need to get that early goal and get ourselves back into this game early as we can. And that's why Saka would have played. And Emile Smith Rowe might have even featured, because he wouldn't have cared to rest him. like he has all season. Saka's not gotten a rest, even though we've got big games coming up. So I don't think anyone's covered themselves in glory. I think El Neni was always in contention when Ceballos got a red card. And I just hope that for me, David Luiz is too important. And I hope it's just a precautionary thing and they just took him off just to rest him up and hopefully no further damage could be done. And I think because David Luiz is very experienced, he's like 30 odd and he'll know, okay, I need to get myself off now, otherwise I'm going to tear myself for Thursday. And it seemed that way because otherwise he wouldn't have walked off. He wouldn't have stayed in the stands. He would have got straight into the locker rooms to try and get some treatment. But it was just an ice pack treatment, and I hope he'd done it early enough. And yeah, that's because there was no impact damage. It was more of he kicked the ball in a strange way. He didn't follow through with it, and he kind of stopped himself from following through, which, let's be fair, when you play football and you've done that when you don't expect to do it, yeah, your leg does feel strange afterwards. So I hope it's just one of those where tomorrow you sleep it off and then tomorrow it's all fine again.
I hope so. Yeah, then look, we'll stick with David Luiz for the minute. As I said, I think today sort of highlighted what we've been missing without David Luiz in the team. As Sulz had touched on there, the injury. I watched a couple of replays of it, and yeah, I was kind of looking and trying to judge his reaction. And to me, initial thought is it looks like he's done his hamstring. It looked like he kicked through with the right, and it looked like, I think it was the left leg, his standing leg looked like it went. And speaking as someone that's had past experience of hamstring injuries, yeah, to me that looked every bit a hamstring injury. Which, if that's the case, it's pretty much end of David Luiz's Arsenal career.
Yeah, unfortunately so. I mean, we saw today, like you said, we saw in almost 15 minutes what we'd missed. To me, as much as I like David Luiz, I was one of the first to slate when he came to Arsenal. I'm really against all this Chelsea nonsense. I just want to stay away from it. But he has delivered, and I think this season, especially before his injury, he was so key in that back four. And as soon as he comes back, you can see it's not just his defending, his clearances, it's his vision and passing. It's just different gravy compared to what we see from centre backs, especially. But yeah, hamstrings can be touch and go. Like we've seen people return from them very quick, and sometimes it is just a case of precaution. And they're fit, fighting in days. But with David Luiz, you never know. He's only just come off an injury, which was different. It was a sort of different situation, but I hope we have him because seeing that back today was just quite exciting. And I've got more relief in a Gabriel and Luiz. I know Gabriel has had his inconsistency this season, but it sort of gave me a bit of hope. And it's not just in terms of keeping the back line strong and, being it up against the attackers. It's what he can do in terms of going up forward as well, because there isn't anyone really like him that can deliver those sort of balls. And it's gutting. It seems like it was written, though, to be honest, because it was always a risk playing him today. I know you want to play him because you want to get him on a good line for Thursday. You need to get a run out before you need to sort of meet the small people before you face the big people. But it was always a risk because he's only just come back. And shamefully, it hasn't even been what he was injured from. It's a complete different situation. Hopefully, we are wrong and we see him Thursday. But yeah, it didn't look good. But yeah, I think the signs are there that he could be okay because, like Sulz touched on, he wasn't stretched off or anything. It was a sort of situation which he can handle on his own. And I'll be so intrigued if he doesn't play to see who sort of came in for him, because it's the world's your oyster at the moment. Whether you play Holding or Marie, I don't know really, do you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, look, definitely fair points by both of you there. As Sulz pointed out, like David Luiz, he's an experienced guy. He's 34. I guess I would like to think when players get to that age and they start looking at their own career and they know how to manage themselves better than, say, somebody like Martinelli, who's going to pick up plenty of kicks and bumps along the way, and he's going to tell you he's fine. I'd like to think the older players know how to kind of manage their body better. So if they feel something going, a little tweak, definitely, I guess, err on the side of caution when you're only coming back. And yeah, in a game like that, there was no point, to prove a point. There was no point in him continuing on. He did walk off the pitch. I suppose the part that concerns me a little bit is I look at the fact that he walked off the pitch and I said, right, well, maybe that's not so bad. But then I think back to when he clashed with Raul Jimenez and he was absolutely pouring blood and was probably suffering concussion, and he walked off, not a bother, and he came back on and played. So he is kind of an all-action type of guy. At the same time, there are times where he will kind of, I guess, just kind of get on with it as well. So we will have to wait to see. Hopefully, it's not as bad as we initially feared. But I just have a feeling it's probably going to rule him out of Villarreal because, Arteta being Arteta.
On that, can I ask a question to you guys? Because I'm curious to what people think of this. Because obviously he brought Chambers on instead of Holding or Marie or anyone else.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I know it's hard to judge because Newcastle didn't do anything. Like, they didn't even come for us. But would you be comfortable if he went into that game with Gabriel and Chambers instead of Marie and Holding?
I just don't think. I think that there is something which I've said previously on this channel and many others. Stability is so important in the back four, especially. You've got to keep stable. You can't stick, and especially in these games, we already saw him make enough risks in Thursday's game, and none paid off. Absolutely none of them. So I think Chambers, he's had a good run when he's played on the right. If we're going to play him now. I know he's versatile. I get that. He can play centre half. He can play in this defensive midfield. He can play on the right. But just keep them where they're at because they've got confidence there. And it's the same thing I'd probably say with Xhaka, moving back to that. The only reason I wouldn't like to put him back in the midfield is because he's got a bit comfortable to a role. And just to quickly touch on Thursday's game, we saw him put Pepe in the middle when no one knew what was going on. But Pepe was out on the left for the whole period. This is what happens when you do try something new. Players just are. I know they're paid to do a job, and you play where you get told. But Chambers, I think he'd just be too used to that right side, and it wouldn't work for me personally.
Yeah, my thinking of it was like that. Like you, Sulz, I wondered with the options he had available why it was Chambers that came on at centre half. And I guess my thinking is maybe, okay, look, he's potentially lost a centre half now. We don't have an awful lot there. Like he seems to be against this idea of playing the two left-sided defenders together. So he's thinking to himself, I've got Gabriel and I've got Pablo Mari. One of those guys is going to play. And now he's thinking to himself, I've got Rob Holding or David Luiz. David Luiz is now potentially out. So I think he's sitting back and saying, I've only got Rob Holding. So he's probably looking at the fact that if needed, he's still got Cedric and Bellerin as a right back. If he was to throw Chambers in there today and something happened to Chambers and he was ruled out, maybe he's looking at it going, right, well, I've got three right backs, really. So maybe I'll just stick Callum Chambers in there because, again, it'll just kind of get us through the game. But again, look, Arteta being Arteta, as much as we are guessing what he's going to do, half the time I think he's sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? And literally taking it game by game, day by day. But look, we'll move on from David Luiz. Look, it's a funny one because, as I said, there are positives. There's obviously some of the shine has come off it a little bit with the injuries and that. We were, look, to summarise, I guess, the first half and the majority of the game, we were good. We were the dominant side. I don't think we were overly tested. And again, with the grand scheme of everything that the game was and what it meant or didn't mean, I guess it's really hard to kind of over-analyse how the game played out because, like we said at the start, it felt as though Newcastle never really showed up. Arsenal were in cruise control. I don't think there was too much we can really be angry about. I guess just in terms of it, as I said, look, we did grab a second goal in the second half, and it was a nice link-up, good positive link-up play. Martinelli ball into Aubameyang. Sulz, do you think that Arteta might be looking at that now as a potential option for Thursday, or are you still thinking Martinelli still has an awful lot more to do to change his mind? That's not going to be enough to. We know Saka's going to play on the right against Villarreal. I'm presuming it's going to be Pepe, or do you think now Martinelli has given a question now to Arteta on who's going to get that spot?
I'm not. I'm not entirely sure because Arteta's always come out and said Martinelli's for the next season, not this season. And he's seemingly sticking to that, which is fair enough. Like, we've seen the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi, Phil Foden, there's many other players even in Europe. If you look at the likes of Ansu Fati, if you look at the likes of even Ilias Moriba now at Barcelona as well, there are young players who should be in the starting 11s every single week, but they don't get in, not because they're not good enough, but because there's also a thing of protecting players against themselves as well. It's about understanding what's needed. And with Martinelli now, and this is the thing, and this is what I want fans to do, I want them to go look at Martinelli last season and go look at his recent games. You'll start to see there's more tactical discipline within him. He's not running as much. He's not, and this is, and I know people love this. Oh, you look at how much he presses people. For me, that's a nonsense point, because you don't want your players running a lot. You want them to be effective when they press, and that's the difference. And now he's looking like he's pressing his man. When the ball is won, he's where he needs to be. Whereas with last season, he'd press his man, the ball would be won, and there'll be no one where he was, where on the left-hand side, or whether would that be in the middle. He is looking better, and he seems to be getting parts of his game a lot more right now. Decision-making is a lot better. He knows when to take a man on and when to maybe make a pass or look for a pass, when to not go to the bylines. And this is the sort of things that, Arteta is working on. And this is the problem. When we have a player we like so much, we just want them to play. And people make any reason to play them. And I'm like, yeah, but Pepe can also do that. And this is the problem. It's like we want them to play because we like them, not because we actually think they'll work. And that's the problem. It was like when people were questioning Benfica when Willian came on, and we had the likes of, obviously, Martinelli on the bench. And guess what we did? We won that game because of Willian. And this is sometimes why I keep saying to people that you do have to be patient, because Arteta has made that abundantly clear that he wants Martinelli for next season. And the thing is, Pepe is more experienced in a situation like this. Maybe he doesn't want to put too much pressure on Martinelli to say, look, we've got to win, because this is what the pressure is going to be like in the dressing room. We have to win this. There's no excuses but a win. There's no bad performances. Not a single one of you can't work hard. And to put that kind of pressure on a guy who has barely featured this season is, in my opinion, a bit difficult. And it's that experimenting again. We know Pepe is going to work. Martinelli can work. And this is the thing. Either one of them playing would be good. And the reason why I'd like Martinelli to play over maybe Pepe, because I think it will be between them two. I think Saka is on that right-hand side. And I think, especially from today, playing basically 90 minutes with Aubameyang, obviously right at the end they brought Pepe on, but that was so at the end of the game, it was basically a full game given. And I think it's going to be Aubameyang in the middle, Saka, and then basically between Martinelli and Pepe. The only reason why I personally want to see Martinelli play is because I feel like he helps the defense out a bit more than Pepe does, and Xhaka will get a bit more support. And especially when you got like Chukwueze, or even if Moreno drifts out to the left, you've got the opportunity of Martinelli helping you out. So that's part of why I'd prefer Martinelli to play over Pepe. But if Pepe played, I wouldn't be like pissed off about it or angry about it. And that's my thought. And this is the thing, and that's my thoughts on Martinelli. That's why you don't see me be so annoyed when Arteta isn't picking him, because I understand it. Because every time I see Martinelli play, I see an element of his game has changed in a positive way. Like, even if you looked at it today, I used to always say he's like a bulldog that's been unleashed on someone. Like, you've said to him, just go attack him, and he's just there running after the ball. And I'm like, why are you running after him? That's not your man to defend. And today you'll see that he was on his man, pressing his man. Every time he won the ball, we were structured. And that's part of what Arteta's trying to drill into him, because in the modern game football, you can't be out of position. You can't have this all pressing, all intensity, just press whoever you want, because there's structure to it, there's a plan to it, because the transition from you winning the ball has also been detailed within trainings. And that's what we're now seeing. And that's why Martinelli's looking even more effective, should I say. He's not looking better, because there's still a long way for Martinelli to go, but he's looking more effective in the games he plays.
Easy to forget. He is still only 19. As you said, he's developing. I guess, look, any positives that you've taken from today, I guess you've got to have a little bit of concern and a bit of caution as well, because then at the very end of the game, that red card, that share, whatever the hell that guy they're calling them, absolutely needless tackle from behind on Martinelli. And although he stayed on the pitch, he looked like he was in an awful lot of discomfort. And I did see him glance over at the bench a couple of times. I don't know whether it was more so to look and kind of go, is he? I can't even remember. I'd be completely honest. At the end of the game, I kind of got up and I was setting up to get the stream ready. So I don't know, did we even have any subs left at that stage? But I did see him look over. It didn't look good though. He didn't look like he was in an awful lot of comfort. So I'd imagine, Arteta, Martinelli's probably going to tell Arteta that he's fine. But I think Arteta is probably going to be able to use that now as another way of saying, look, we're gonna let you sit on the bench for this game against Villarreal.
I mean, yes, it's like Sulz said as well. They're going to want to put pressure on early. We need 2 goals. Let's be honest, and we need it. We need it as fast as possible because we need to do it without them scoring. And when you look at it, Martinelli's just played 90 minutes of football, and 10 minutes of it he was wounded. You look at Pepe; he's barely played anything. I mean, I think he came on in for like the last 12 minutes of the game. And Pepe's fresh and ready to go. He scored the penalty in the last game out. So maybe he sort of wants to attack this game with revenge, like come at it with revengeance sort of thing. I'm a bit like Sulz here. I couldn't really care less who plays on that left side. I'm a bit different to others though. I think for me, I would quite like to see Gabby, Aubameyang and Pepe start. I just think that would cause so much damage. Saka's been brilliant, don't get me wrong, but we do overplay him, and I think soon it is going to get weighed up on us, or him. In fact, he could possibly have a big summer ahead with England. I think we use him so often, and we're always getting. It seems like we need to rely on him now. I'd quite like to try something different because it wouldn't really be a risk. We've seen Gabby, Uber, and Pepe play together before, but yeah, I'm not too bothered if it's Pepe or Martinelli on that left side. I think this will be a reason for Arteta to look and say, look, okay, you've had a knock. We're going to start with you, and we'll maybe bring you on. And it might not even be Pepe that goes off. We'll just see how the game goes on. The good thing about Martinelli, he can play on that right side, he can play on the left side, or he can go through the centre. So I don't think it's too big of a deal if we don't play with him. But yeah, if it were me, just to be sure, I'd maybe start with Pepe. Not just based on the injury either, just based on the fact he's had 90 minutes and he's not really played many 90-minute games, Martinelli. So he's still sort of getting used to it. And it's like Sulz said, it's still he's good, he's brilliant, but there's still potential. He's still potentially to be special. I don't see him as a player that's cut it at the moment. And whereas Pepe, I think he does shine in Europa League. Yeah. So I think he has that bit of a nudge. But yeah, I'm 50-50. I'm not even that. I'm 60-40 maybe, just because I think Pepe's got a role there, and it would be good to see him playing back with Aubameyang, really, because we haven't seen that in a while. Them two seem to have this sort of connection when they've played together. It's gutting about Lacazette, really, as well. Like, I'm talking about all these players, it's still so gutting about Lacazette, because when you see them all sort of shine together, it comes alive, and now we're not going to see that happen for the rest of the season. But yeah, I agree. I think it will probably be Pepe, Aubameyang, and Saka. But I'm entirely not fussed based on that knock in the final minutes. It really annoyed me as well because it was so late on in the game. We'd won the game, and it could have been a lot more reckless than what it was. We don't know obviously how fit he is, but he seems alright. I just think it may have sort of given him a bit of a wound, which he didn't necessarily need. Martinelli's already had a season out of football. We don't need him having any more risks than what he's already had. But yeah, let's sort of hope and wait and see. But it's certainly given Arteta a bit of a nudge to go the other way.
But also, right, on the Martinelli thing, personally, when I look at Villarreal, even throughout the Liga season, forget about what we did in Europa League. The one thing that I'm constantly seeing is that his team tends to tire out around the 60-70 minute mark, especially their defensive line. If you then, right, say for example you're throwing Pepe, Aubameyang, and Saka at them, and then in the 70th minute mark you go and bring a Martinelli on, they're just going to be like, oh, for flip's sake. Because the thing is, right, he arguably, in my opinion, him and maybe Aubameyang are the quickest attackers we have in this team. And if you then turn around and go, yeah, I'm going to bring Martinelli on now, what's going to happen is, let's say we are 1-0 at that stage. I'm hoping, 1-0 is enough. That's why I'm saying I'm hoping it's 1 or 2-0, whatever. What that'll do is it will then force them to push back again because they'll want to keep a high line, but then they've realised that, okay, we've got to deal with Martinelli now. Now we're going to have to drop a yard back again and that's what I want them to do. I want them to constantly feel the need to push back and not come at us, because when they started defending in that second half, that's when we were all over them and we were creating chances. It was just that cutting final edge that we just lacked. And that's why I don't mind if Pepe started and then Martinelli comes on.
Yeah, I echo that. He's a good addition to have on the. I think he's a good acquisition from the bench entirely. And at the moment, we're I'm not saying we're struggling with players on the bench, but I think if Arteta makes the substitutions at the right time, which he keeps failing to do, I think he would be someone to sort of come on and give us that nudge and get the win. Like you say, if we go 1-0 up, if we get a second goal, that should be game over if we play our cards right. But you know, this is Arsenal, this is football. We don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I completely agree. Martinelli on the bench is always an exciting thing to have. It's just using him at the right time of the game.
Yeah. You do have to have guys like that. Like, as tempted as we all are, if we had our way, obviously you want to throw Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Odegaard. You want them all in the lineup at the same time. You want to find a way to squeeze all these guys in, but like, it can't be done. You have to have the right amount of balance in the team. And there are times where, you've got guys out there and they might be your best players and it's just not clicking. Whatever way the game is going, it's just not working. You've got to have options off the bench. And too many times this season, we haven't had that. We spoke about squad depth and that. So, yeah, as tempting as it is, throw in a Martinelli or whatever. But it's nice to know you have that option of a guy like Martinelli or a guy like Pepe to come off the bench that are able to change the game. But lads, let's talk Aubameyang. Nice to see the captain get on the score sheet again today, Sulz. So I presume, look, he went without a striker against Villarreal. I presume it's going to be Aubameyang now. He got, 76 minutes today. He got himself a goal. He's the club captain. He's surely he's going to start him against Villarreal. You feeling good now that he's got himself on the score sheet?
Yeah, I've been backing this man all season. There have been moments where I've given up on him, but not given up, but I've just been really frustrated with him. And it's good to see him because, look, I've always said when the big moments, when you call him, he does answer the phone. He's just unfortunate when all season he's been a bit in and out. Obviously, we're finding out more and more about what's happening with Aubameyang in terms of his season. Him the thing is, he's a confidence player. And every single, and I know this week especially, we've had the conversation of, has he lost the dressing room? I don't see that. And I've said it, and I've constantly said it. I don't see Arteta has lost the dressing room, especially when you look at Aubameyang today, Martinelli, every single goal, they have the desire for a pointless game. I don't know whether they think it's a meaningful game. I don't know. I really don't, because from a fan's perspective, we're behind on Everton by, I think it's 4 points, and they've still yet to play, and they've got a game on us. And if they win that, we're 7 points behind. We're about 5 or 6 points behind Liverpool, and they yet to play, and that's a 6th place, position. So we're not in a really good position where we should be looking at the league as our outcome of whether we get European football or not. It's Europa League or bust in terms of going into Europe. He has got these players playing, and I think with Aubameyang getting a goal today, I feel like we've seen parts of the old Aubameyang coming back in this game in periods where his movement was good. He was exactly what I said we needed to do against Villarreal. It seems like everything Aubameyang was doing on the shoulder of the last defender, causing them issues. Even when even before Odegaard passed the ball to Martinelli for the cross, Aubameyang had it in the middle trying to take a player on. Obviously, kind of flustered it a bit because there was just too many players on him. And this is what we need. We need him to constantly be there as an option to pass to. And he seems to be getting that sort of ability to make the right decisions as well. And the goal for me topped it off. And that was 100% needed, because now you can go into Thursday believing he can score. and that's what we need. And even Martinelli, has that belief. El Neni, if he plays, he's got a belief he can score, and that's what it is. It's this game was always going to be. I say it with very sort of reservedness, but a sort of morale booster, because we were always going to win. I had no doubt we would beat Newcastle. Like, I thought they're in a position where they're struggling to beat teams, and they don't seem, especially not having Willock. Like, without Willock, they don't seem to be the same team. Is a bench, obviously he's off the bench, a super sub, but they didn't have that, and that's why I wasn't as worried. I mean, even if we look at Maximum, like today, he didn't do much, and then this is the thing. Like, I hope he can carry this through into the Europa League. He has done it this season. Olympiacos, he then obviously Benfica got us through. He has stepped up when we've really need him to step up. So I hope Thursday's another period where we have Aubameyang. He seems to look fit. Like, obviously malaria, the effects of malaria seem to have not be impacting right now. So I don't know whether it lingers, and it's kind of like, yeah, you can have a moment where you're like this, where you're normal and you're energetic and everything, and then it hits you. Because I've not had malaria personally. I've never had it, or I don't think I've had it anyway. So I don't know how long-lasting effects. I know with COVID, a lot of players have come out and said there's long-lasting effects with it. So that's another positive, that it doesn't seem to have affected him as much as people were maybe letting on at first. Like, he's not gonna have the energy. He's not gonna be able to run. I think he's come back quicker. I don't know whether that's because he's got more desire, but he seems to have that pace back in his, and that spring in his step. Maybe because he needed the rest. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's a contributing factor of him just being able to just take some time away from football. That's what I've always said. He needs to just take time. I know it's not the best of scenarios, like getting ill, and especially with like a malaria, situation. But he's come back, and he seems to have just got this love again for the game. Because even if you looked at him against Villarreal for the little 10-minute cameo that he had, he seemed to have been back to himself. And then today we've seen a lot more of him. So we can only hope that, he is back and he gets us through this time. Because I'm not going to lie, as much as he's been bad, as much as we've said, it's a mistake, he's the man. If anyone's getting us through this time, it's him.
Yeah, look, it can only be a good thing when your striker is scoring goals, no matter who it's against. As you said, look, it was a bit of a dead rubber game. It didn't, in the grand scheme of things, mean too much in terms of, it was 3 points that we add to the table, and, make of it what you will, whether it really counts for anything. But then, as much as we're sitting back and we're saying, maybe for a lot of the players didn't really mean much, in terms of, for the fans, it didn't mean an awful lot. Do you think Arteta was thinking like that? Or, do you think after what happened the other night against Villarreal, the way he got it so tactically wrong, it added so much pressure that was already mounting on him? Do you think he sort of felt like, just to kind of ease things a little bit, I need to get a result here today?
Yeah, I mean, no one likes to lose 2 in a row, and as like Sol said on the morale booster, I think it was also a case of just getting the confidence back, because we've had so many losses in the league. I don't know how many. I think like Fulham, Everton.
14, I believe it is, or is it 12 in the league? And
12 in the league now. Like that's just ridiculous. And I think when we're going into a big game, we need to be coming off a win, because if we would have lost today, which no one really expected, but it wouldn't have been great for the players that played.
Yes, 13 losses and 14 wins.
I mean, we can't really afford any more, regardless of moving up in the league table. We're not going to get anywhere now anyway. That's settled. But I think even just for the players, it's good for them. Someone like Aubameyang, he's had all sorts of problems this year. I'm not going to back him because we know he hasn't been the player we wanted. But, he was off for personal reasons, and then he's had malaria. And there's just the whole pandemic itself. He's not had a great season at all, and he's not been on form. He knows that. The Villarreal game, he came on. As soon as he came on, he nearly scored when he forced the keeper into a good save. That shows you that, I think as soon as I saw that, I knew he'd be starting today, because it was like, right, okay, he's fit. Okay, maybe this is a game for him. Bring him on. We haven't got Lacazette, so start him. Even if he goes off midway through, if you don't think he's 100% comfortable, take him off at the right time, which we did. We saw him go off in the 76th minute. Maybe they thought, like, okay, he's had a bit of enough now. Get him fit for next week. But yeah, I think he, out of all people, needed this win today. Because as much as I say he's a disappointing captain, he's always got his head held high. I think he always is sort of that person that knows when he's disappointed the team. He's not afraid to come out and say it. And yeah, I think Arteta had big weight on his shoulders because the fans are gunning for him. As soon as these fans get back in the stadium, I myself, Thursday, I was furious. All these decisions made. I've always backed Arteta. I've always been a sort of Arteta in player fan saying, right, who are we going to bring in? Who's going to do a better job? But when you look at some of the reckless decisions made, no one can back him. And in that tunnel or watching from a screen, no one can be on his side. And I would have just been even less convinced if he'd lost today. Even if he went and won on Thursday, it's still a loss at the end of the day, But yeah, I think he just needs to sort of finish with his head held high. If he can get us to win the Europa, great. But if he can't do that, at least do something in the league where you're showing some sort of ambition with the players you got. And if he does move on in the summer and we get someone else in, at least we can, not think as much of a shambles of it. Because a Europa would be a good finish. Because I'm not being funny, but the league everyone's finished on there. If we can go, say it looks like United in the final. If we can go and beat United and beat them to a Europa League, I'm laughing. I'm happy. So it's Newcastle at home or Newcastle away. It's still a game you're there to win. Otherwise, there's no point turning up.
That's it. Look, morale around the camp is important before such a massive game. So look, it can only be a good thing for us that we did what we did today. As I said, the only negatives it could take is the potential injury. It was an injury to David Luiz. Potentially may rule him out. We don't know the extent of it just yet. Hopefully it's not as bad as we fear. Like that, hopefully Martinelli isn't as bad as we fear. But look, a lot of positives. Captain back, got himself on the score sheet. There was a couple of
Bellerin. Bellerin, he actually looked all right today. I saw a tweet earlier and it actually made me laugh that ever since he's become the backup player, he's actually started looking impressive. It seems as if it's sort of giving him a bit of a nudge, like, come on, start playing well now. I think he'll still go in the summer. I want him to be honest. But even he's not really had bad games. But then again, he's not had much competition. I mean, he was up. I can't remember who was up against him. The Newcastle left side. I can't say I pay too much interest in them, but
Matt Ritchie.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I'm not being funny. It's not someone you're looking at and you're thinking,
by now.
Yeah, but even he didn't make any mistakes. Even like you said, if Chambers was bizarrely put in the centre half, we're going to need to maybe rely on him because him and Cedric can't play in much more game time than each other at the moment. But yeah, I was quite happy all round. I don't think there was any sloppy errors made. I'm just happy for 90 minutes without an Arsenal error at the back. To be honest, that's just that's quite a relief on its own. But to get the win. It's not going to change things, but it puts us in a good mood for Thursday. Just hopefully he sticks with what we've got and puts the right players in the right positions. I think that's the main thing.
Just while you were talking about Bellerin there, I remember I read this the other day, and this is the Stop Online Abuse campaign that Arsenal are running. Well, not Arsenal aren't running, but Arsenal are partaking in. And that was a quote from Bellerin. And when I first came into the ranks, the expectations were low. So people were impressed when I played well. But when I played badly, the stick got crazy. For a while, I deleted the apps. And that's sort of like a point I made going back a while ago. I sort of said, I think when he first came into the team, he was so young. And it's like, if you take Martinelli, for example, everything he does okay, we overhype and we say, do you know what? He's only 19 and he's doing this and he looks great. But wait till that guy becomes a 22 or 23 or 24-year-old. And he's doing these things and you're less impressed because now we get to see him and he's in the team all the time. Like what Bukayo Saka does now and what he does quite basically well right now, is that going to have the same impact, in the next 2 or 3 seasons because he's in the team all the time? And this is what happens.
I think with Bellerin as well, he came from Barcelona. And whenever you come from a club like that, you're going to be looked at like you're the next Lionel Messi or, that was always the problem. I still agree that ever since his injury, he's not been the same player. And I think the problem is he's seen more of a personality guy now than a football player. Everyone loves him as a person because he's out there. Like there was talks of him being at the process the other week looking out at the fans. He's a fans player, if you get what I mean. But the football just doesn't tie up with what he does outside of the field, unfortunately. But wherever he goes, I hope he has a great a great season, because he can do it, just not at this sort of level anymore. He's lost a yard, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, that is the truth. Shout out there to Dubber Ducky. He's giving us an update here. Arteta says David Luiz's injury is not good.
It's not surprising.
Yeah, kind of as we were sort of anticipating.
Yeah, on the Bellerin thing, I think the problem that we have, especially in modern day football, is footballers don't actually do themselves any favors, because the problem is, you can't come off like a loss or something like that, or when a season like this, posting on. Look, you can do what you want in your personal life. I know we shouldn't really be judging players on what they post on Instagram and Twitter and all that, but if you're there like going on Paris, like, Fashion Week and all of this, right, when you're off the back of a bad performance, you're gonna get stick. And then this is the thing. This is why I keep saying that I don't agree with the abuse, and and this is the thing. Like, people do take it a bit too far, but Bellerin, even against AFTV, when he was getting criticised as a player, he came out and spoke against him. And I think the problem is footballers need to realise that they are going to get criticised. The abuse, 100% needs to stop. But the problem is, right, is that the problem I have here with this whole blackout, you've given them a date to come back. You said to them basically on Monday, we're back. You're like, okay.
I think it'll make things worse. I honestly think it'll make things worse.
What's going to happen? Twitter are going to be like, you're back on Monday, cool. Right, do you take your weekend off? The thing is, none of them have deleted their accounts. They've not deactivated their accounts. They've left their accounts active as a user, but they're just not going to tweet. That doesn't make a difference to them. All their ad revenue and everything that they make money off of, guess where it comes from? Active users. And if you're an active account, you've not tweeted for a weekend, but that's not going to subsidize their ad revenue. That's still going to keep it up. So, and then when you give a return date on all of this, it kind of just defeats the purpose. Why not say we're not going to come back onto these platforms until change is made?
I've got a bad feeling. I've got a bad feeling it will make things worse. I really do. Because it's sort of giving them an ambition. It's like, we've won, you're going off, and then they're going to come back and then just get it again. Like people like Raheem Sterling, not being the best player in the world, not to go on to another subject, but it's just an example. He's not been the best player this season by a mile, but he still scored 13 of their goals, which is going to win them the title. But fans will absolutely haul him. But when he scores a free kick or whatever in a couple of weeks, or next season when he's flying again, that will get forgotten. You'll have the same fans trying to shake his hand in the stadium. But yeah, I'm completely with what you said, to be honest, the other day as well, Anthony, about this whole thing. I just think the platforms are there for us to speak up, and like Sulz did on the racism the other day, I think that's what they're there for. I think if we just sit and hide back and don't go on our phone, it's going to encourage these idiots to just carry on.
Yeah, that's
only the idiots will be left then. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to change it. It's like the analogy I use, right? And what I was trying to get to, because people are like, how come you're not doing it when you're speaking up against racism, was one of the criticism I got this week. And the thing that I said to them was like this: if you're seeing a murder happen and you just turn your face, does that mean you didn't acknowledge it? You're just acknowledging it but ignoring it. And I go, it's like that. If you're seeing a bank get robbed, or if you're seeing something happen, like a crime happen, but all you do is turn your head to ignore it, does that change the fact that it happened? No. And that's the problem. You can't, it's happening, right? But you're not doing anything about it. Clubs have enough power within themselves to do something. They can hire someone, like 2 or 3 people, who go through people's accounts. And I can't remember who made this point, but I thought it was absolutely fantastic point. So, like how most of us will say, loyal Arsenal fans, right? And in our bios or something, or passionate Arsenal fans, or have Arsenal like logos within our profile pics or whatever, and we'll tweet about Arsenal actively. Why don't the clubs, right, look at those profiles and just monitor them, or have something where even it can be off Twitter, where you report certain accounts that are claiming to be Arsenal fans, report them, where they can then deal with it. If they then to be found out, let's say they're a season ticket holder or a membership holder, those privileges get revoked, etc., etc. They get called out for it, and action like that can be taken. And this is the thing: we can all sit there and blame social media companies and say, we're not going to use your platform. But what have these clubs done? It's like fighting for racism, but sleeping when it happens. It's like, it's not going to change anything. It's still going to happen. It's like what I've said to them is, you've taken the weekend off. Do you think the racists have? No. So that's part of the problem. It's like there is enough people can do. It's just whether you want to do it. And this all comes down to money over everything. They'll have to employ someone or 2 or 3 people, which will, let's give an average wage of, let's say, 30k each, right? That's going to cost them in the season about 90k a year. That's the salary that they may be paying these people to monitor accounts. Now, will they want to do that? No, because why would they spend money on something I'm not saying they don't care about, but they don't want to put their money there. And that's part of the problem. It's like you can keep blaming organizations, but if those same organizations aren't doing anything, it's because like me and you, for example, won't have the power to change this. We can only promote it, we can only talk about it and say why things are wrong. But if these bigger organizations who claim to care aren't putting their money where their mouth is, nothing changes.
Spot on.
Yeah, that's it. Look, we take a 3-day break from social media, but abuse doesn't take a day off, and racism doesn't take a day off. And it for me, what it comes down to, like, you're not educating those people. Like, those people come back in 3 or 4 days' time, and they're still the same person that they were.
They're just more fired up.
Yeah. If anything, for them, you know, they're sitting back proud of themselves, saying, "Look what we've caused. Look what we forced people to do." You know. And they don't learn from it. And I used that example the other day of that Kadela guy who plays for Slavia Prague. And it's like, yeah, okay, you got a 10-game ban, but in the middle of this 10-game ban, are they forcing him to attend workshops? Are they forcing him to, you know, speak with people, and like different people that can educate him on why what he did was wrong, or is he sitting at home for the next couple of weeks playing his PlayStation? You know,
do you know what, Anthony? Yeah, you bang on. And this is the funny thing, because that is a situation where they could have actually stamped their authority on, and they should have said, you know what, enough is enough now, because too many players and too many people are now getting away with it. Fans are coming in and they could have heavily fined him, and they could have said to him, look, not banned for 10 games. They should have said, nah, you're banned from football. You can't play under a UEFA competition ever again. That's taking a stance, and they can do this because it's their competition, it's their regulations, and that would have completely showed people actually there's a no tolerance policy. It's like at work, for example. I'm not saying I am racist or would intend to be, but you know, they have a zero tolerance policy on certain things, such as like you can't be abusive to customers or staff, you can't, you know, be, you know, basically racist or anything like that. You can't, you know, the sort of common sense thing. If you were found out to be racist, you're sacked. Why are footballers just given, oh, wait a minute, 10 days, yeah, just take a 10-match day. Like, they're just going to go home, chill out. Still, it's not like he was pay suspension or anything like that. Not that it makes a difference, because they're on enough money to live for 10 matches anyway. But they're still getting paid. They're still training. They're still able to come back in 10 matches. What's that, about 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, and then you're back? That doesn't do anything. It hasn't done anything. And that's the thing. They're not. This is why, like, I don't understand why people are having such an issue with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, because those platforms are open for you to have a voice. Whereas with football, it's meant to be inclusive. So if you're not stamping out racism or, you know, taking a stronger stance against it, how can you sit there and say to Twitter, oh no, you should? And Twitter are going to turn around and go, mate, you just gave a 10-match ban to someone, and you're telling us to take users off this platform. Are you like hypocrisy?
Yeah, contradicting, definitely.
Yeah, that's the truth. Let's look, just before we wrap it up. Basically, I suppose probably a stupid question, but then, has today's performance done anything to kind of maybe give you a bit more confidence going into the Villarreal game?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you don't know what Arteta's going to do. I'll tell you what, after the first leg, I really have no faith in his tactical ability anymore. I really don't. And I know that's been a little bit harsh, but the way he went with that lineup on Thursday was just too unconvincing for me. And as much as today he did perhaps make some good decisions, resting Partey, resting Pepe, you know, resting Saka, resting Smith Rowe. Okay, that's what we want to see. He could go Thursday and do it all over again. I think as long as he plays I'm more about the sort of front, you know, the front four is where I want to look at, and it would tell me whether or not we're going to win this game. If he makes the right decisions there, then I'm all for it. Aubameyang looks in good form, and I think I echo what Sulz said. I think he is going to be the guy that does it, and it would be good for him as well. Because it will get he's probably got a lot of weight on his shoulders due to everything that's gone on this season. Not from bad performances, but he's had malaria, you know. I don't know much about it, but I know it's going to probably knock someone's down. So, and being the captain overall, just being the captain, he sort of knows that he's got a point to prove in that perspective. But yeah, I'm a little bit more confident. It depends. It's all going to be on the first 15 minutes, isn't it? Really, I think the first 15 minutes is going to tell you everything. I don't want us to be going in the second half still needing even just a goal, because that's when it gets a bit nerve-wracking. Leno's had a rest, so we'll see how he comes out. He's going to probably get a lot more of attack in the second game. They've got some good quality up top, Villarreal. So, yeah, I'm not going to say whether or not I think we're going to do it because my mind would change on Thursday afternoon. But I'm a little bit relieved that today went according to plan, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I guess if I'm taking any kind of confidence out of today, it's the fact that at least our attacking options should be a little bit better for the next game. But as Seb pointed out there, he still can't understand, I think like Moses, why Arteta won't use Gabriel and Pablo Mari. So I guess Sulz, the defensive change about that we might be up against again on Thursday against Villarreal, is that kind of unsettling your nerves a little bit?
Not at all. I actually think we're going to go through. I'm making the boldest prediction I've probably ever made on your channel, Anthony. And I think, and I'm genuinely going to tell you this now: Aubameyang's going to win this tie for us, and he's going to overturn this deficit. And I do genuinely believe this isn't going to go into extra time. This isn't going to go into penalties. We're going to win this in full time, and it's going to be won in the first half. And I can tell you reasons why. Because as much as we say that, system changes from Arteta, guess who else made a system change today? Emery. Emery's also rotated his system today into a more sort of defensive approach against Getafe, which goes to show he's rotated as well today with, a lot of players being rested. You got Gaspar coming back in. The only players who notably played are Chukwueze, Alcacer seems to be back, and Pau Torres. They're the only ones who, and Parejo and Capoue.
He's different gravy, that Alcacer. He's a quality player.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like today, and obviously they won 1-0. They just needed to win. And they've managed to rest some players as well, but they seem to want to come for it. And I do think the problem with the first leg was this: Arteta was forced into a corner where he didn't have a lot of his players available. He's always said they were in contention to play. We don't know what that means. That could just mean a half an hour, they could play 30 minutes or something. The only problem I had is why Martinelli didn't start when he didn't have any other striking options, and why that's my only concern, really. But that's an easy fix, in my opinion. Then you just put a striker in. But in this second half, I think even in the first leg and coming into this Newcastle game, what I've always said is against Villarreal, we need to play quick, fast, and direct football. And against Newcastle, we've seen, yes, there were sloppy moments, but that's because of the players who haven't really played together for a long time. Like Martinelli is in and out of this team. Elneny hasn't played like a starting role in a while. Ceballos and Elneny haven't played together for a while. Then obviously Willian hasn't played. I can't remember when the last time he played, even off the bench. He was brought on. But the last time he actually, when he actually played like a significant amount of a game. And you can see even with that, right, what's being trained into them. If these players who barely play with each other are playing quick, intense football, like just snapping at each other, 1-touch, 2-touch football, that goes to me to show that the 11 or the people who are going to play on Thursday are also being trained to play this way. And that's the way you break them down. Because even if you look at it, they're sort of 2 or 3 centre-backs, depending on how they've transitioned in their formations, will always be attracted to the ball carrier. So whether that's, in this case, let's say Aubameyang is the one who's playing, it's going to be attracted to Aubameyang and Odegaard. You'll get the likes of Pepe and Saka with a mouthful of space because there won't be many players on them. And that's one of the things why I'm going to be even more optimistic going into the second leg, because tactically we can beat them. It's not a difficult team to beat. And I know that sounds so naive, but they're not. Tactically, Emery team is not hard to beat. It's just whether you want to use the right tools to beat them. And we have all of those, because I've always said pace, but Barcelona didn't use pace to beat them. They used Griezmann. And Griezmann, it's not slow, but he's not quick. We've got about 4 or 5, maybe 6 players who are quicker than him, who are all going to start in this game. and that's my problem. And then you've got the likes of obviously Smith Rowe getting a break. When he comes off a break and he's rested and he can fully go full out on himself and his ability, he is terrifying because he presses you like a madman. He comes at you like a madman, and he can drive the ball. And this is why I'm not bothered who the number 10 is. So I know this sounds mad, but I am actually quite confident we'll go through.
Yeah, do you know, now that the kind of dust has settled from the first leg, and I'm looking at the options we have for the second leg, you know, now we've got Odegaard, who's got more minutes under his belt.
Yeah.
You know, we've got Aubameyang, we've got Martinelli. Unfortunately, we don't have David Luiz. I'm a bit more confident in El Neni now after seeing him play and put the ball in the back of the net. So I do think El Neni's going to play. I think he'll play with Partey. And I think that's
imagine the scene, right? It's 2-1 going into the 90th minutes, right? 2-minute added time. El Neni with a 40-yard screamer, yo. That would just be like,
it's got to be Thomas Partey. Partey is due a 40-yard screamer.
or even Partey. That would just be madness.
Hey, I don't
if you see him on the end of it, I'm not watching. I'll just turn around and wait for the noise.
Oh, that's it. Hey, look, I don't care who scores. I don't care if it's a Bernd Leno goal kick and it just flies over everyone's head and goes into the net. As long as we score.
I think that's my prediction, though. I think if we win it, it will be 3-1. I just can't see us keeping that clean sheet. Not with Luiz out now as well. I think it's tricky.
I can't say because I don't know what the partnership is. Because
that's the thing.
He could go with holding Marie, which is what I've been saying. If you're not going to play. It's got to be Gabriel Luiz. If they're not available, then you have to go for a Marie holding. I don't know whether, because the thing with my issues with Marie is actually with holding. He's not aggressive enough when it comes to his tackling. He seems to be very sort of passive on his defensive and just performances. He kind of gives space and time, whereas when you need to be shutting players down a lot earlier, and that's my only concern with him. But saying that. I don't know about the clean sheet, but I do think I don't know. I really don't know. It's hard until I see the centre back pairing. So, but I do think we can. But it's going to be one hell of a defensive performance.
Yeah, it's got to be. Again, I think that the part that worries me, which is mad, and it shouldn't, the fact that we're at home, the fact that we're playing the Emirates, I just cannot be confident at home. I really can't. And this is going back, not just this season. We saw it last season as well. Yeah, the Emirates, it's just, I don't know, just for me, it's never felt like that fortress, like the way Highbury used to be, you know. Yeah, that's my only concern. I would actually rather we were playing away and obviously had the option of away goals. But yeah, look, I'm a little bit more upbeat, definitely a little bit more upbeat. Look, is he going to get it right tactically? We've just got to wait and see. We could predict who's going to play. There's names there that I think look obvious to put in the team. Arteta doesn't always do it the obvious way. So, you know, we could each build a team here and it could be completely different to what he's thinking. But yeah, lads, it's been a good chat anyway. We're over the hour mark. So just before we wrap up, if anyone watching hasn't hit the like button, please do so. And as I always say, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It'd be very, very much appreciated. So Sulz, you made your long-awaited return. Give yourself a shout out there because it's been actually. Give yourself. Have you got any fire outros for us here today? It's hard. It's a strange one because I know like we won, but not as psyched up as you should be after the back of a week.
Yeah, we've got Captain Fantastic back. We've got Obama, Blood Clot Young, my guy. I've said it all season, and I'll say it again. Aubameyang is going to win us this Europa League. That's how far I think he's going to take us. He's back now. He's got his goal, and guess what? He's got a smile on his face. Yeah, you know what? He's no longer Travis Scott. He's now Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Whatever, I don't know whether he went in for malaria or for a brain test for me because he's come back a different player. Yeah, he seemed to come to his senses. I think the doctors knocked it in him. Maybe they gave him a pill for it to say, look, you've lost your head a bit here. Yeah, he's gotten rid of the dreads. He's like, no, I don't want this music career. When Danny K does take over, I'll drop my mixtape with Lacazette then. Yeah, for now, I'll focus on my football. When Spotify do take over, mixtape drop. Daniel Ike enters, Invincibles come in, and that's how we're going to play. And we're going to win it with the Europa League. Kroenke's out, and that's how we play. And you can find me at Goonasaurus, Leicester Bay Footy. I'm back on Republic of Arsenal. That's how we roll here.
Oh, Sulz, you never disappoint. You never disappoint. See, this is what we were missing. From Sulz.
What shoes I feel I've got to fill now?
I was just gonna say, Dan,
like
how do you compete with that?
Bar or something? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm optimistic, but I want to have as much confidence as Sulz at the moment because I don't. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It's been nice not to actually talk about the whole Spotify thing, to be honest, because everyone spoke about it for weeks and like the whole Super League, etc. But yeah, it's going to be big if something like that does happen. I've seen so many different sort of media sources talking nonsense about how they're going to sell now. But yeah, this will be a big boost for the Kroenkes to come out. But then again, it's also an opportunity for them to sort of whack 2 billion more on the club's things. But you can find me at Sideline Talk Podcast. Just me, one other Gooner, and 2 other lads. We talk all things football, so it's a bit different to this. But yeah, we do roundups on a Sunday night, which we'll be doing very shortly at 7:30. So make sure you come in and tune to that. But it's not really about me. It's about Anthony, and always a pleasure to be on here, mate. So come on, you Gunners.
Yeah, look, the support is always very much appreciated from yourselves and all the other guys that do come on the channel. And just on the topic of Spotify, then, since you reminded me, just a shout out and a quick plug. You can get the audio version of this podcast on Spotify. So big up Spotify. Hashtag in, hashtag Kroenke out. But no, lads, it's been look, it's been a good Sunday. It's been a nice end to the weekend. It's nice to finish with 3 points, dominant performance, plenty of pluses. Big shout out to everybody that was watching. Thanks so much for the support. Please do hit the like button and subscribe, as I said earlier, if you haven't already. And yeah, look, we will be back. We put something together, I reckon, before the Villarreal game. We'll work on something for that. You know, try build up a bit of hype before the big game. As I'm saying, every game, the biggest game of the season. So until then, come on, you Gunners.
Come on, you Gunners.